Hey guys, welcome to episode 12 of the Alex Waters Show. I'm your host, Alex Waters. And on this week's episode, this was a really fun chat. I probably fucking say that every single week, and I probably swear too much too, but here we go. I caught up with Kim Barrett, the owner of Your Social Voice, which is a social media marketing agency based in Perth. He's a world-renowned marketer. He's interviewed and hung out with the likes of Gary V, Grant Cardone, Grant and Alina Cardone, many others, just to name a few. And, I really wanted to get Kim on the show because he has a very interesting way of looking at things. I think the way he thinks naturally is just quite unique and different to most people. And so I wanted to dive into a lot around why he does what he does and what drives him, and, how he's kind of strategized to get access to some of these bigger names and really platform himself and his business forward in life. We discuss about overcoming fear and what that looks like for him, and a few other things as well. It was a really cool, just authentic and genuine conversation. And if you're on YouTube, you'll notice we were at Kim's office this time, so a bit of a different background. Yeah, but it was really, really great. So let's get stuck into it. Here's episode 12 of the Alex Waters Show. Kim, how are you going?
Great, my man. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and people checking us out on YouTube, we're in a different location today. This is Kim's office, so I feel like I'm in a Gary V type environment.
I try and make it like half Gary V, half like suits with my balls, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's awesome. Super a bit of an inspiration because I'm just in the process of revamping my home studio, home office. So hopefully I'll have like a bookcase in there and a few personal things, maybe some psychedelic art.
Yeah, I love
that kind
it.
of thing. Bro, you've done some really cool things, and obviously we caught up through my 100 Coffees project.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that really struck me when we caught up was just like how you're just like incredibly humble and just seem to be someone doing really what they love. Give the listeners a little snapshot of where you've come from and what you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, for me, I've always went through school, did all that sort of stuff, and I was like, when I grow up, what I want to be. And it was always wanting to be a businessman. That was just kind of my thing. And I was like, cool. If I can do that, I studied and tried to do all those things the traditional way.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really come off the way that I expected because, they're like, go to university, get a degree. I'm like, yeah, cool. But then they don't tell you the other 3,500 people per semester that graduate with the same degree.
Sure.
You're what do I actually do now with that? So that kind of pushed me into the world of business. So for myself, and for me, I'd always looked at what makes businesses work. And to me, the fundamentals was really marketing and sales. Yes, you have to have a good product. Yes, you have to be able to deliver on all those things. But most people don't start businesses and they suck. You know what I mean? So you don't really start a business and it's like, I want to become a hairdresser, but I give people bald patches. It's like you get into it because you're good and you kind of like what you're doing, right? So for me, I was like, well, if I can help people with one of those two things, surely I should be able to have success and grow and, help people because they all love what they do. And if I can help them get more people in front of what they do, everyone should win.
Yeah.
So that was really then what became my goal, and that's why we started doing marketing as opposed to anything else. I've been in speaking, tons of different industries when I was working through uni and then after uni, and it's it was all kind of so. And then this was all right, cool. I actually get to make a good impact on people.
Yeah, cool. And you're obviously really good at what you do. I scrolled the internet before I came here, and I was I just Googled your name just to see what comes up.
Yeah.
When was the last time you did that?
Look, I don't want to say I sit there and Google myself all the time. It's it's but because I regularly have to go back and try and find. People might be like, can I get an article or a mention. You've mentioned this, like, where is it? And I'm like, oh, Kim Barrett, like Entrepreneur Magazine or whatever else. So I have to go and find it. So that's the only time that I Google myself.
Yeah.
It's
So,
just to find out.
but, like, a couple of things came up, which is like the Lord of Marketing, Kim Barrett, like Lord Kim Barrett, and the marketing goat of Perth, like Kim Barrett. So it was several times as well.
Yeah.
How did those names come about?
Well, the Lord is because I am technically a Lord of Scotland.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
so it's kind of a sidetrack conversation,
awesome.
but so like we were at a mastermind event on Bintan Island, and we're sitting there and we're talking about like how to get discounted flights and hotel stays and get upgrades and stuff like that. We're all just having a chat, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I read this article where they said if you're a lord or a doctor or have like a high level like what do you call it, like prefix to your name, that's when you are more likely to get it. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if you can buy, like, I was like, I'm pretty sure you can buy a lordship. So I jumped on Google and I was like, buy lord title, and this thing came up and I was like, is this legit? And then I was like, oh, it came up and it was like $68 US or something, and I was like, oh. And everyone's like, do it, Kim, come on, become a lord right now, let's do it, and then we'll call you Lord Kim for the rest of the island stay. And I was like, okay. But it was at one of the all-inclusive resorts, so I didn't have my wallet, but I had my phone. So I was like, oh, if I can pay with PayPal right now, I'll do it. If I can't pay with PayPal, I won't do it. Yeah. And then like add to cart, next button, pay, check out with PayPal. And I was like, looks like I'm doing it. So I checked out and bought my because in Scotland, it's all about land ownership, right? So it's like I have like a square meter of land in Glencoe, Scotland.
Yeah,
legit. So technically legit.
Have you visited it?
Nah.
No,
not yet. I will go one day and plant a flag just on that one little square. Yeah. Draw a little, square around it so everyone knows that's mine.
Yeah. So there's obviously no, like, their foreign ownership laws are friendly to international lords.
Yeah, they don't mind. So
man, I would say like that sounds awesome. I kind of want to do it, but I feel like I'd be a total copycat now.
Well, you can become the Duke, right? You can go and buy a Duke ship or something like that.
Okay.
There's different levels you can.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. What if you can buy a night ship?
Can't buy a night ship, but you can buy you can become Duke, Duchess, Lord, Lady. There's like one or two other ones.
Yeah, like a Baron.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, Baron, Baroness.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Baron, I think that suits me.
I reckon you could get away with that, bro. Easy.
Epic. Like how much do you kind of believe in, having a purpose? Because I think a lot of people starting out or even going through life are sort of caught up in this idea of having this, purpose, and often it can get quite aloof and
it becomes very esoteric, as you say. Like I would say that you should have a purpose in what you do, but I don't think you necessarily have a definitive. It's like this is my only purpose that I have in my entire world, and if I can't figure that out, then I'm a failure, and that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like if you have a purpose behind what you're doing, it may not be the thing that you do for the entirety of your life or brings you the most joy, but if you have that, then I think you'll be able to deliver at a high level, enjoy what you do. But if you don't have a purpose, if you're just doing something for the sake of doing it, then to me, it's like that's never going to be fulfilling and be like, oh, cool, I actually have fun doing this. Whereas for me, it's like I know I have a purpose for what we do here at YSV, so I'm like, cool, every day I'm excited to go to work. I love getting up early and getting in here, and if I have to work late, working late and all that sort of stuff as well. But I think if I was just like, oh, this is a job and I just market people's stuff on Facebook, like I probably wouldn't have a very enjoyable time.
Yeah, sure. So what's your purpose then?
So at the moment, I would say what it is, I can't tell you my entire life's purpose because I don't know. But at the moment, it's just to help business owners to be able to focus on doing what they do best. Yeah. Like for me, because if I do that, and that's what makes me the happiest. Like, yes, we do cool stuff. We hit cool targets that we get excited by. Like even, we got the 2 Comma Club Awards from ClickFunnels, which is like $1 million through one sales funnel. That was cool. And like, it was exciting to go and do it. But I get more excited where it's like, let's say that you and I set up an ad campaign and you get the first lead in and you're like, Kim, I'm so happy I got my first lead. Like ever, I've never got leads from Facebook. That makes me more happy because it's like, cool. Now you're on the path to where you can have leads coming in every single day. You have no stress and worries about that. Yes, you'll have other problems in your business, but that first part is kind of taken care of. Yeah. So that's what makes me the happiest is when, like Christy just told me just before we came in here, one of our clients set up a new funnel for them. They spoke to a new client and they're like, cool, they're going to buy, like a $4 or $5 grand program. And they've always struggled with lead gen from other companies and stuff. So to me, I'm like, yes. That doesn't mean they're going to pay us anymore. It doesn't mean like anything like that. But for me, I'm like excited for them because then it's like I'm fulfilling my purpose by going, well, they are doing what they do best now. They're helping people with sales. I can, rest easy and sleep well tonight.
Yeah. I mean, you've done a few other things outside of your social voice, like you've bought into other businesses and sort of you've got JVs. Tell us a little bit about that and how that's come about.
It's just always like, to be honest, like I read this article once and it was like it's like you're never lucky or in the right place at the right time. It's just preparedness and putting yourself in front of opportunity. So that's what I always try and do is like, if I can be prepared, and I think it's like a Les Brown or something, a quote, and one of my my brother-in-law Calvin always uses it, which is like, it's better to have be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm like, that's the way I think about it. So for me, I'm always looking like, if someone came to me today and like, cool, I've got a deal. It's like, okay, I'm prepared to take on the deal. I'm prepared to put YSV in a position where we help with marketing and can take an ownership stake. Like, I'm always prepared for that. That's why I like watching shows like Billions, Suits, like, as I said, like the things on here, like, I even like him or hate him, like Jordan Belfort, like, things like that. Yeah. And it's like, there's a reason why it's like, it's the Leo version, not the real version.
Yeah. So you've never had any, like miniature dwarfs in here throwing them around?
Look, not in work hours. No.
Yeah, crazy. Maybe that's your next... when
you get the new office.
That's your next like nickname, actually. Yeah. Perth's Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in this somewhere and it'll come up on Google and
the
start ranking.
The Wolf of St. George's Terrace or something,
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. Like, outside of, business, because it's cool to sort of go, I have purpose in what I do. I'm helping lots of people. But you obviously work, incredibly hard. Like, what is driving you? Like, do you have things in your mind you're trying to achieve for your life? Like what is your, I hate using the cliche term, like, what is your why?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a great quote from as well, Richard Branson, which is like, I don't have work-life balance. It's like I have my life, and that includes work and everything like that. So I don't ever... like I don't kind of disseminate between it's like this time and this time. It's like I'm always thinking about work stuff and business stuff. And that's because I think for me, like I want to leave an impact. And I was on a podcast yesterday and they're like, what impact do you want to have on like the industry that you're in? And I was like, cool, I just want it to be like, I want to make a difference. And like I have like a little plaque up the back there, which is like, help enough people get what they want, you will get everything you want. And we also have a value in our company, which is like, leave things better than you found them. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, cool, in the market, like whether it be Facebook marketing or advertising in general, like whatever category you want to put us into, that we made a good impact on that. And that people could look back and it's like, I've got books by, from the 1940s of the all-time greats of marketing and advertising. And I want people to go, cool, Kim made an impact on that, made it better when he was there in it. If that is all that happens in my life, then I'll be happy.
That's all you want.
Just that, make an impact on that, and say like everyone around me has a good time, like not at the detriment of others. Like if I can bring people up with me, that's always the goal, and lead people to be able to do whatever it is they want to do as well. Then happy days. Like I can't we're not in the days of where I've got to go fight a war as a knight and and take over. If I can make a positive impact there, so that businesses can make an impact which impacts all their lives, their families, and stuff like that. I'm sweet with that. I
mean, that to me sounds like an incredibly altruistic statement and like way of being. And coming from me, like I feel like I was born a more selfish person.
Yeah.
I don't know if we had this conversation at coffee, but it's like, I have a theory that people are like just typically naturally more selfish or more selfless.
Yeah. Well, that's selfish though, what I just said.
It's selfish.
Yeah.
Because
it makes me feel good.
It makes you feel good. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, no one, like, yes, other people will benefit, but because they benefit, I feel good. So there's no truly like, I was having a chat with Ken on my sales team the other day. I was like, he was bringing it up. I can't remember who said it, but it's like, there's no selfless act.
Yeah.
Because the fact of being selfless becomes selfish because you're like, no, like it's not for me, it's for other people. So that makes you intrinsically feel good. You can't do that and feel bad. So it's selfish anyway. So I'm with you, bro. We're both selfish. It's all right.
Yeah. Sweet. Come down to my level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I totally get that. I mean, it's been something I've had to work on. When I say selfish versus selfless, I suppose the distinction I would make there is like, I grew up and would consistently be thinking about myself. and in a selfish type way.
Yeah.
And so it was blocking out thoughts of thinking about other people.
Yeah, gotcha. So you're like more like what's in it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
like I was so obsessed by what was going on in my own head, my own problems, and all that sort of stuff that, you know, that you get something good from it. Because ultimately, I had a really good chat with someone yesterday. Actually, he was sharing with me, Tim Guest. He was sharing with me some philosophy he's been studying lately around transactions, like transactional philosophy, and how everything in life is a transaction. As you just described, even when it appears to be an incredibly selfless act but there's a transaction there. It doesn't have to be a negative connotation to that. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You know, going back to kind of business, you've run a really big event called Certified Ballers, like incredibly successful. Gone and met with Grant, Elena Cardone, and interviewed them. Got Mark Boris at your event. Like, what does that process even look like to get someone like that at your event? Because I imagine a lot of people think like that it just must be impossible to do, and have all these kind of things in their head.
Yeah, well, it's always like pretty much it's like you're willing to pay enough money, anything can happen. So
Sure.
it's anything is possible. But for me, it's like, and that's kind of one of the things I also believe. It's like really anything is possible, and it's like, to be honest, I always like to ask my questions like, well, why not? It's like, cool. Well, Grant and Elena Cardone are coming to Australia. Well, why can't I get them on my podcast?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no, like, and especially when they were looking for people to be on podcasts of. So I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity. And then they're like, cool, we're going to be in these cities. I'm like, great. Like I said before, like being prepared. It's like, cool. Any of those cities, you pick the time and day, I'll be in one of those cities and we'll record this interview. So.
And you had to pay them for it?
No. So I had to get there, film it, promote it, because for them, they wanted, what did they want? It's like, as you said, transactional. They wanted exposure in Australia while they're here, because they're doing a big tour, they're doing a boot camp. And because I did the interview with them, they got an interview with two other guys. One guy bought their boot camp, then paid them probably like 60, 80 grand plus US to go into their masterminds and stuff that I directly know of, let alone all the indirect impact that had. So for them doing that one podcast with me, they made at least close to 100K US without even like the knowledge of the back end of that. Because they go, cool, we do podcasts, we get awareness. People are going to come to our event. They're going to pay us more money if they like what we do. Yeah. So they had a really great approach to that. So for them, I was just like, cool. I found out that they were coming. I was like, great. Why wouldn't they want me to interview them? Let's go. Just ask. Again, the biggest thing that most people don't do. And you just
emailed them or something like that?
Emailed their assistant and was like, hey, cool, you guys are coming. Like, I would love to do a video. This is what I'm going to do with the video. This is how I'm going to promote you guys. And that was the first of all the interviews in Australia that they did to get it out as well. So I recorded on a Friday. We had it live and published by Monday. 2 half an hour full of 40-minute interviews up, running with Facebook ads. Got like 80,000 views on them or whatever it is, just pumped them out to all the audiences that we have in Australia, and it did really, really well. So but that's because I was prepared. I was like, cool. As well, like if I wasn't prepared to be like, oh, I can't get there, or you can only get me in Sydney, I was actually going to be in Brisbane anyway, and then I was like, cool, I will go to your event in Sydney and I'm going to go to an event the next day in Brisbane. I'm happy to do both. So you tell me which city you want to do it in, and I'll be there. Where you're going to do it in the city at this hotel, this place, this time. Cool. I'll get there. Yeah. I made it happen. So that was, just me just going, cool, I'm just going to push for it and see. Because worst that case, they're like, no, we don't need any more people, or we don't want anyone. It's like, okay, cool, no worries. Like, it's just a no. Yeah. Like, there's no, it's not like they're like, no, we hate Kim Barrett. Yeah. Like, we don't want you specifically. Like, that would be the only outcome. So to me, I'm like, that's not that bad. So I can handle that. And then, like, for example, Mark Boris, like, cool, we wanted to bring over someone good who wasn't, I would say the word tainted, but it's not the word I want to use. Like, tainted is in, like, they've already done events with other people, so it's there's already a familiarity. Because I was like, oh, what if I got, like, Janine Ellis or Naomi Simpson from Shark Tank? Because I know they're doing events, and I see them at events, but I'm like, oh.
They've been here a couple of times.
They've been here from other people's events, and that means that they have an anchor and their preconceived idea of what they think that event's going to be like. Yeah. So I was like, who hasn't been over for ages and done anything? And I was like, oh, Mark Boris. Like, he ran his TV show. He's got his podcast, which is pumping, all these things. So it'll be good to bring him over. You know, like in hindsight, he added value from the value he gave to the event, but no one came to our event. Maybe one person that's like, I want to see Mark. So for me, I was like, oh, well, I had all my other like friends who are speakers and stuff as well. Everyone else on there, like I knew really well. So they all came and spoke, and I had more people that were like, I want to hear Ryan Tuckwood on sales. I want to hear Kim on Facebook. I want to hear Brooke on Instagram. Like I want to hear all these things. So they were more beneficial, even though they were much easier to get to come along.
Sure.
Much less contracts, much less hoops to jump through than getting Mark over.
How does that change your perspective on the next one then?
So the next one, like I'm pretty lucky in the fact that I've got a pretty good network of speakers in Australia. Like I'd probably say like the top echelon of speakers that are not on a speaker circuit, because most of them speak for themselves. So next time I would not invest in someone like Mark Boris and getting him over because I know how much of impact all the other guys have had. And now that we've hit it and people go, okay, this is what type of event that Kim has. It's not a pitch fest. It's not, sit and be locked in a room and then, like we're making you run to the back of the room to the table to sign contracts, like, which is not bad. Like that's the type of an event, but that's why we charge.
Nah, that's bullshit. I'm just going to call it. It's bullshit if you're doing it.
Well, look, it's a sales event, right? So it's like if you pay $49 to go to a whole day and Tony Robbins is going to be and all these other people, it's like, how do you expect they're going to make money?
Yeah.
You know, like for me, I'm like, when I did a whole about the NAC, which is what Grant Cardone and Gary Vee and stuff talked about last time they were here, I did a whole video and I was like, they've got to make money somehow. So yes, they're going to give you some content, but you know you're going to be sold. Versus like, if you don't want to be, then it's like, cool, then you're paying $500, $1,000 plus for a ticket.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you look at the ticket price, you can know what type of event it's going to be. So if you want to go and get like a touch and you're fresh to the industries and you want to see what it's like, go pay $49.
Yeah.
But if you want good value and just value and that alone, no pitching, you're paying like you've got to pay a price because people walk into a like, for example, like NAC, they walk into like the Sydney Olympic Stadium to an event. It's like an event ain't free. Like that room alone, and most people don't think about it. And I always think about, I'm doing the math. I'm like, this venue alone would have probably cost them like $50,000 to $100,000 for the venue. That's before you put chairs in it. That's before you put your staff in it. That's before you put the stage in it, the lighting, the AV, the books. And then everyone's like, oh, $49, what a ripoff. I'm like, mate, that they didn't make any money on your $49.
Yeah.
They only make money if you buy something after.
Yeah, sure.
So it's the same as like if you go on a free webinar. It's like, and then someone over, you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's all, it's
the guy spoke about himself and then sold me something. It's like, mate, it's a free webinar.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was one nugget. Hopefully there's at least one nugget of value in there.
Yeah.
And that's the same. I always look for, if I go to any event like that, it's like, I just want one thing.
Yeah.
If I get one thing out of it, that's of value to me. But it might just be I meet someone. If I go there and that's worth $49 or a free webinar or whatever it is, like that's worth my time. If I get one connection or if I get one little nugget and go, oh, cool. Or even if it's like, great, when I went there, they set up their event like this, so I can take that for my event when I do it. Value. Yeah.
Do you think just on that, like the whole sales piece and getting people to run to the back of the room quickly and stuff like that is really just a reflection of the fact that most people are so stuck in their own head or their own fear that like they have to be sold in order to take action? Like there has to be this like huge carrot dangled in front of them and like dragged along to get them to run.
If people were intrinsically good at all the things that they needed to do in life, we wouldn't have traffic lights.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Love that.
Like, so it's like, we need to be told when to stop, when to slow down, when to go,
So good.
like all those things. So to me, I'm like, people need to be, because even in those things, when you go there, it's not like and people like to say they've been like, if they have a negative experience, they'll be like, I was manipulated into making it. It's like, you know what you're doing. You're going over there, you're filling in a form, you're still waiting in a line for 5 minutes to do something. You want to do it.
Yeah.
So some people, we do need to be told as humans, and even like we write an ad and I'll write it with like, you want to call it persuasive copy in mind. It's like, cool. So from here, it's simple. Click below, do this and do that. If I don't do that, my conversion rate drops. So if I don't say just that line, click below, and if you see ads on Facebook and it has a structure at the end, you know it's probably one of mine. It's like click below, leave your details, and one of our team members will reach out to see if we can help. If you don't say that, you probably lose 10% of your conversion rate.
Right.
And that's purely because people are like, okay, read the ad. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, they're not saying that out loud, but in their mind, that's what happens.
Sure.
So
As
it's
in
like,
they're basically following directions to get there, and totally get it.
yeah. So it's always what happens. So for me,
Yeah.
I think it does need that. And there's some people, like, if I want to buy something when I'm at an event like that, I'll be the first one at the table before they've even like told you to run, because I'm like, cool, I want it, and I also don't want to wait in line. So I'll just walk up and like, I was like, give me your form, bro. I'll fill it in and buy whatever it is. But most people need to have that extra push, and it's like, cool, if you do want to do it, stand up, because it's instruction, right? Same as like, stop, stand up, go to the back of the room, like, click below, leave your details, stop your car now, pause, and now go with your car.
So do you think, you're a pessimist or an optimist when it comes to the evolution of the human being? Because, like, are we evolving and getting more intelligent, or does it just appear that way? And
Depends what your measuring stick is.
Yeah.
Like, it depends how you measure that. And it's like, it's everyone's like, oh, this happened. I was like, cool. Is that happening, or are there just more people? There's the whole, like, like the 1% or 2% of the population that blah, blah, blah. And people are like, nah, things are changing. It's more like this. I'm like, well, is it, or do we just have a larger portion of 2% now? Or it's like, so for me, I'm like, I think people are always going to be people. Like, the only thing that I see improving is really like medical science and things like that, or potential like proper science where it's like, cool, we can get spaceships to Mars now and stuff like that, which is cool. But it just means I think that we have more people. Like, the population's never been as big, so if you've got more smart people, surely they can work on more things to push us forward faster.
Sure.
So, because I think there's always going to be people that are just like, I'm good, like, I don't like, I don't want to evolve or anything. It's like, I'm pretty happy just doing my things, living with my family, going to the beach on the weekends. Yeah. And that's cool. Like,
exactly. Yeah. I had a conversation yesterday, and we're talking about, people staying in comfort. And I made the point, I was like, it's only a problem if they're staying in comfort from a place of fear, and they want to, like, they wish they weren't in it. But if they're staying in comfort from a place of like limitlessness and just like, I can do whatever I want, and I'm just really fucking comfortable doing this. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like
no meaning of life, like we don't have to overcomplicate it. Like,
it's
do whatever you want.
If you get upset that you're not changing, that's when it's a problem. Yeah. If you're like, if you want to complain about stuff, and it's like, well, if you're going to complain, then that's on you. But if you're like, I'm good, and it's like, enjoy. Like, people are like, why are people like, everyone should be a business owner, everyone should be an entrepreneur and do this and that. And I'm like, no, there's a guy probably called Pete who drives a garbage truck who's happy as.
Pete or Dave.
Yeah, Dave-O. He's just in the truck. He goes up, he picks the bins up, he gets home at like 8 a.m, chills, like spends some time with his family, has an early night, has a couple beers, and he's content. Yeah. And it's like, Dave-O, you do you, mate. You enjoy that. Like, you don't have to go and start a business and become an entrepreneur, or, like, be part of the great awakening of the human consciousness, or whatever you want to say. It's like, you enjoy that, mate. You love driving the garbage truck, man. As long as you're happy, like, you keep doing it.
Well, many would argue that actually, he is probably more conscious and awakened than many. It's kind of going back to like old Buddhist principles, around gratitude and acceptance of what you have and how things are. Yeah. And inner peace isn't gained by getting more of things outside of yourself.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. Are you a Buddhist?
I don't think I'm anythingist. I'm just like, I like, it sounds weird. I'm just am. Like, I don't, subscribe to any.
That's how spiritual thing.
Yeah.
I just am.
I just am. I'm just a being, man. Just, riding a ball of rock and molten lava through the universe, bro. No, but it's like, I think there's good things that come from like my parents did probably one of the best things, because my dad was very religious, and they were just like, cool. They took us to church a few times. Like, cool, if you want to go, you tell us and we'll take you. If you don't want to go, we're not going to make you. So for me, it's like, I've always had experience of that on my dad's side of the family, where they have been more religious, and it's like, cool, I respect and I appreciate and take some points of that. I look at Buddhism, take some stuff from that. Look at the management styles of Scientology, cool, I'll take some of that action as well. Like, it's all good to me. It's like, it's all out there, so I'll take bits and pieces of all of it.
Yeah, cool. I was in a funny story about Scientology. I was in LA, and like a couple of years ago doing some filming. I was filming a vlog, and like was like filming outside there and outside the Scientology Center in West Hollywood. And yeah, obviously they approached me, asked me not to film anymore. And then I got roped in and I walked inside and was like, fuck, I'm going to take some of the tests.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting and actually really opened my mind to how there's actually a lot of good in what they've done. They've just given a lot of, been given a lot of a bad rap, perhaps, rightly or wrongly so. But
I think that's with everything. Look, I mean, no one seems to still talk about the Crusades and all the people that got killed all around the world, and like what happened when people went to Mexico and places like that when the Spanish came across, and like all of that sort of stuff like gets eventually brushed under. So it's like there's no religion that's really had like no conflict or impact on people. So as I say, like as long as it's not like a negative, like a cult or something where it's like actually bad, where they're doing bad things. It's like, if people are good, they're getting along, let them do it. Like, you do you. Like, enjoy yourself, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I noticed, can't help but notice your whoop.
Yeah.
I just got mine 5 days ago.
How's your recovery, bro?
Oh man, last night, terrible. I had it's actually, it's brought a lot of awareness to me about, basically because of how shit my quality of sleep is at the moment. I need to be in bed. It's telling me for like 10 hours to recover.
Oh really?
Properly.
Far out. Yeah, I'm sitting about 8.
Yeah.
But it's funny when you change it. So for anyone that's listening, it's like you can choose if you want to perform at your peak.
Yes.
Or just perform or get by. And you look at it and you're like, peak, and it's like, cool, you need to be in bed. Last night was like 8:15 because I get up at like 5. I'm like, 8:15. I'm like, I've barely finished like making dinner, getting home, like doing some washing, and I'm like, I need to go to bed now. And my partner, she's a bit more of a night owl, so so she'll be up until like 2 because that's when she like lights up and is most creative. And for me, I'm like, it's 8 o'clock, and she's like, are you going to bed already? I'm like, look, I don't want to go, but my app says I need to be in bed in 10 minutes if I want to be peak tomorrow. So I've got to do it.
But yeah, mine last night told me 7:55 for a 6 a.m. wake up. So like, it's
if you need 10 hours, like my recovery has been pretty good.
Yeah. So it's come off the back of like I think the first 2 nights I had my son with me, and like he didn't sleep for 3 hours in the middle of the night, and so I was pretty much up all night with him. But do you actually find you can get to sleep, when you go to bed that early?
So I do a few things to make sure that I can. So I make sure that I do my best to no food 2 hours. So like I'll try and have dinner by like 6:30 and not have any more to drink, like water wise, by 6:30.
Yeah.
Blue light blockers on from about 6. And then I also have CBD oil. So I have CBD oil probably about 7:30.
Yeah, okay.
Depending on, and that normally means I can go to sleep
at
a reasonable time, and no coffee after. Now I'm doing no coffee after like 11. Yeah, is my goal. So most days I've been able to hold to that, and then pretty much by that time, I can pretty closely get to sleep. Sometimes it takes me a little bit, but most of the time, latest I've been to sleep this week because I'm doing like 8-hour sleep challenge for 10 days, trying every day to do 8 hours. Yeah, is about like 9 has been the latest that I've fallen asleep according to this. So it's pretty decent. Yeah, cool. So you've noticed an impact on your energy levels? Yeah. Well, my goal is to do, so I think tomorrow, which may or may not hit. So it's like 10 days in a row was my goal of 8 hours sleep. And I reckon by the 10th day, you'll be buzzing off the walls. That's meant to be tomorrow. So I'm definitely feeling much more energy. But for me to get the right amount of sleep tonight, because I got like a 4 a.m. wake up tomorrow, is like, cool, you need to be in bed by 7 p.m. I'm like, I don't know. That's just not going to happen. You haven't gone to bed at 7 p.m. since you were like a 11-year-old. Since Fat Cat was going to bed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, crazy. I've made a decision for myself that like I needed to figure out why I was getting so tired in the afternoons, and that's what prompted me to get it. And the very first night I got it, I was like, I was in bed from like 9 p.m. till 6 a.m., right? And it told me I only got 6 hours, or like 2 hours of deep sleep and 1.5 of REM. So it was like 4 hours quality sleep. Yeah. And that's what screws you up, right? Yeah, exactly. I was in bed all that time and waking up tired, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? So it's clear my body needs to catch up. And but I've been talking about it because I reckon most people don't have awareness about it. Oh, it's funny. Like, I talk to everyone in the office, and like, yeah, most people aren't thinking about it, wouldn't even know. Like when you're tracking, it's like, yeah, cool. You say like, I've been in bed, but if you have all those disturbances, and then it's like, great, then you've got to think, cool. Like, was it my environment that caused it? So did I have light? Did I have noise? Did I have too hot? Like optimal sleep temperature meant to be 18 degrees Celsius. So all those things. Or did I have, did I go for a coffee, 92 at 3 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock, and like that carried through. So, but as you say, like by tracking it, brings attention to it, means then you can go like, how do I tweak those things to make it better?
Yeah. Yeah. Just backtracking a little bit, we're talking about the Cardones, that interview. Why was that important to you as a part of your strategy for your business and for yourself?
I think anytime you can get in front of someone and work with someone who is at, for lack of a better words, like a higher level, like it brings you up as a byproduct of that. Like that positioning is going to increase it. So same like we did through a joint venture that we had at the time, we promoted Gary V's Ask Gary V book tour when he came out to Australia. So I got to meet him, get a photo with him. We promoted that event, which more and more people know about. So that's, again, like it positions us as experts because we did and worked with him. And then same, if I am in a room and I interview Grant Cardone, there's a little bit of that polish of him that's got to rub off on me, and it'd be like, well, if Kim's interviewing Grant Cardone, he must be worthy of an interview with Grant Cardone. So there's some intrinsic connection there.
Yeah.
So like to me, that's the reason why. So I always go, cool, if I can get someone who's good, like tomorrow, getting Robert Greene on the podcast, who's like a quite well-known author, same thing. Like
it's interesting that you describe it that way, because like for you in your mind, you're not thinking, am I worthy? Am I not? You're just like, of course I'm worthy. Like everyone's worthy if they just have to ask.
Yeah.
But what you're playing the game of like, actually most people do think in that way. Most people are in their head assessing whether or not they're worthy of this opportunity or this thing. And
but I mean, in my mind, it's like if I wasn't, I wouldn't have got it.
Yeah.
So if I ask, that's what I mean. It's like if you push yourself forward, it's like I assume, and then I haven't like ever had to date. And when I did date, I was bad at it. But it's like cool. I haven't had a girlfriend out for 5 years, so I haven't had to do that. So if you go and ask a girl out, if you were or were not worthy of them, it's like they would say no, I would assume. You know what I mean? So it's like if they say no, cool. Then that means it's not going to happen. But if they say yes, then I'm not going to go into the date thinking I'm not worthy because I already got the yes. Same as for the interview. It's like if I got a podcast interview and they say yes, it's like, cool, I'm in. Like I might get a little bit nervous and try and think about questions that I'm going to ask and how I'm going to position things as I go into it. But if they say yes, now I'm like, I'm in. I've like tick of approval.
Yeah. I don't even think it's a question of worthiness or not. It's like, especially when dating, because it's like,
I don't know these things.
I really feel that it's like, just true alignment with the energy at the time and like the opportunity and whatever else. And, that I think it's that thing, that question of worthiness that people like bury themselves with. Fuck, I gotta know that chick said no to me on that date. It's like, dude, you weren't even gonna ever like get along properly anyway. You just asked her out because she was attractive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, the right opportunities will always happen for you.
And it's a numbers game. So if you only ask one girl,
exactly.
If you ask all the girls, surely one girl will say yes at some point. Exactly. And that's what I think about. Is
that what you did?
Yeah, exactly. It's like I just go for everything. It's like I have an automated messenger bot that just fires all those things off.
Sure.
But if you think about it, right, it's like when you ask yourself those questions, should I, shouldn't I, that's before you've taken the action.
Yeah.
So for me, I just do things real quick, so pretty much my brain can't catch up. It's like, Grant Cardone is coming to Australia. Copy, paste, email address. Hey, I've got a podcast. Like, I'd be more than happy to promote it. Bang. It's like, oh, shit, I just asked Grant Cardone to be on my podcast. Well, I've already sent the email now. So it's like, I normally do things like fast and immediate. So it's like, I can't really think about it.
Sure.
So that's just something I've trained in because it's like, if you sit there and think about it, same. It's like if you sit there and look at a girl across the bar, of course you're not going to go up to her. If you sit there for 10 minutes, nah, game over. But if you saw like straight away, like, oh, cool, I'll go straight into it.
Yeah.
Same as if you had like at a networking event and you see like the main speaker and you're like, oh, hey mate, and you go and say hi. But if you sit there and be like, I wonder, like if I say hi, what will he say? Yeah. And then what would be the next thing? And
is it weird now if I go over?
Yeah, and it's like, hey, I just looked at him for I can't go now. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Like, and I've done that before. I go to things. I'm like, no. But if I'm just like, hey, what's up? Then it's like, normally it's like, oh, I can't really backtrack and say that I didn't say it. It's out there now. See what happens.
So do you still come up against fear? And like, how do you deal with that?
I wouldn't say fear. There's definitely nerves and things like that. But to be honest, I always liken it. And, you know, I've been put into experiences where there's actual fear. Like, I went and spoke at an event in Bangladesh, and there was a terrorist attack the day that we arrived.
Fuck.
Got met on the plane when we jumped off the plane with guys with like AK-47s to escort me through, because I was the only white person on the plane.
Whoa.
And that all happened at the like 1 block over from the hotel that we had. Next morning, there was a retaliation from the army to the terrorist attackers. So for me, it's like, that shit's scary. I had fear then. But like in business, it's like, like, what's the worst that can happen? People say no, or I lose a bit of money, I just make the money back. Or, you know, like in reality, in most cases, like unless you're someone who's like a brain surgeon, heart surgeon, things like that, then it's like, that's fear. Like if you put me on and it's like, Kim, cut this to save this person's life in their heart, I'd be like, no, I'm out. Like, no, thank you. But it's like, cool, run the Facebook ad, do this, speak to someone, speak at an event. You know, I always like to put in context. Like even my girlfriend yesterday, she's like talking about her business, and she's got some issues at the moment with staffing and things like that. And I'm like, imagine if I was like, to put this into consideration, because she was like a bit annoyed and frustrated. I'm like, your business could have been in Lebanon right now. And it's like, half of that place just exploded and window and like, you know, it's like, and then she's like, oh yeah. So I was like, we really can't complain, can we? And she's like, no, we can't. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you put it into those comparisons,
context
of those
and
things,
perspective is everything.
It's like, no, we've got no issues. Like, there's nothing to be fearful about in business, like in the business world. Again, you know, like, you know, and then you watch, and like, so she's from Mexico. You watch some things about like what happened in Mexico in business and drug cartels and things like that. Man, one day we're driving to the airport, and then I could see a police car went past us, like pulled over on the side of the road and started following us. I was like, this is like narcos. I was like, they're going to pull us over. They know I'm like white. They're going to hold me for ransom. I was getting scared then, because I'm like, watched all these shows about what happens. And it does happen in Mexico. It's legit. Like they're not made up stories. They're probably dialed down for the more Western audience. So when I was over there, and then same, like one night the night we were going to leave, all the street lights went off, and all I could hear was like all this running down the street and all this noise. I was like, this is it. This is where the narcos get, like, there's something's happening. Like, it's a foreign country. I don't know what's going on. Like, those things put fear into you. It's like, running a business? Easy. No problem.
Yeah, I love that. Just perspective and context with everything. Yeah. And maybe, like, you know, for people listening, is if they just, like, don't have those reference points to maybe, like, write down a list of their physical, you know, some physical fear things of, like, go, you know, climb Mount Kilimanjaro or whatever, like go do something a bit crazy out of your, go skydiving. Is a big one for heaps of people because they're afraid of heights. You skydived?
Bungee? No, not bungee jump though. I was like,
I feel like we had this conversation.
Yeah, I think we might have, but bungee jumped I have, and I was like, nah, like this is like, got to the edge of that. I was scared then. I was like, this is scary.
So in business, you're just like, I can do this. Don't make me skydive.
Yeah, it's like, don't make me jump out of a tube of steel with nothing but a backpack strapped to me. Like, come on, mate. That's
so fun though.
Yeah,
it's so fun.
I can imagine maybe like the first time, maybe not so much, but for me, I'm like, I'm quite happy with my feet on the ground.
Yeah.
No, you know, I don't need to be no Icarus flying up there near the sun. I'm cool doing down here on the earth. That's okay.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. So what's you mentioned you got a girlfriend. You know, we've spoken before. Like, how do you manage working so much and, you know, still spend time on your relationship and handle all that and have fun?
Luckily, she's pretty addicted to work as well.
Yeah.
So she probably works more than me. So there's an somewhat balance in that. As I think, I don't know if I told you last time, I was like, if we were both with different partners, we would have been so dumped. Like we were, you know, like I would have got broken up with so bad, because it's like when I'm working, I'm pretty addicted to working, like in as much as I can. But now I've been doing a whole bunch of study on flow and process and like recovery and things like that, similar to why I got this. So I'm much better now. So my main goal is 37-hour work week, focus work week.
Yeah.
And then if I need to do other things outside of that, and I want to jump in and look at something on the weekend, I will, but it's because I choose to, not because I have to.
Sure.
And so doing that, and it's like, cool, I used to be, you know, like impressed with the 12-hour, 15-hour days, this, that, and it's like, well, probably just means I was inefficient with my time and ineffective.
Yeah.
So now I'm much more focused on going, cool, how can I get myself into a good state so I can smash out 3 hours of work, have a break, 3 hours of work, another hour maybe in the evening. Boom, that's all I need to do.
Yeah.
Like if I'm doing more than that, I probably don't have the right systems, processes, or people in place. So I need one of those 3 things.
Yeah.
So I probably just matured slightly in my approach to that rather than hustle, grind my face off 24/7.
Yeah, and like posting on IG stories 10 p.m. in the office, being like, "Fuck."
Yeah, exactly. Back in at 5 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, oh yeah, I get up early, but every day I go to the gym in the morning. I relax, have a coffee there, chat to the guys there. There's a few guys that are clients of ours at the gym. Have a chat. Come to the office in here before 8:45, leave around about 4 o'clock, between 4 and 5, depending on what's on, how busy it is. Do a little bit of work when I get back, but then if I'm trying to go to bed by 9 o'clock, it's like I need to be back, unwind, I've got to get it done.
I mean, I think clearly we're both like spent years like putting in hours and hours of work. Like I remember back in 2013, 14, in my early real estate days, it was like 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. in the office and stuff like that. And I think you can't underestimate how important that is sometimes, especially in the startup phase when it's like you're doing everything.
Yeah.
But as soon as you can get to a point in business where you have a bit of scale and there are efficient and effective ways to scale business and you've got systems and processes in place, it's like you don't actually need to be doing that at some point.
No, you don't need to go that crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. Man, it's been a really, really good chat. Question I always finish off with is, what do you find most interesting about yourself?
I think probably my ability to see things simply, because I assume that, and I think a lot of us do, is like we think people are similar to us because really like we can't step into anyone else's brain.
Yeah.
Right. So I have no idea what you see right now, how you feel, experience. I assume it's similar to me.
Yeah.
It's just an assumption I have to make. So for me, when people say stuff, I'm like, cool, that's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. Like this, and this. But then they're like, oh, like how did you come up with that or something like that? I'm like, it's simple. Do you not just like see things like this? And they're like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Well, so to me, I'm like, I am very interested and I see like how I've been able to do that because apparently not everyone does. So for me, I'm like, okay, cool. Like this is an interesting thing about it. It's like that's pretty much it. I always just go, cool. I have to like not take that for granted, but like appreciate that about myself because it's like if that's not what other people do, it's like I can't believe how complicated people's brains must be then. Because for me, I'm like A to B and there's an arrow, go A to B, and other people are like, oh, but what about like C D Z Y X Y P? I'm like, no, like the arrow says go A to B. Like, why would you not just do that? Like, it just makes sense to me. So yeah, probably a random answer, but yeah, that's my
I love that. Yeah, and yeah, I imagine there's a lot of people. Like I can see that you would get a lot of questions, often in podcasts. You said you've done like over 120 interviews now or something, and being like, how did you cultivate that? And you're just like, I was just born like this. So,
yeah. So it's like, is that not what you all do? Like,
yeah. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That's like when I said I went to uni, it's like when they would have marketing and management, I'm like, cool. So this is just common sense. Is it? Like common sense 101. They're like, if this happened in this business case scenario, I'm like, would you not just like, is that not just the common sense answer?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh, but common sense is not that common. I'm like, but shouldn't it be? That's the name of it. Like common sense. Like, does that not mean it's like everyone has it? And they're like, not really. I'm like, oh, okay. That confuses me.
Yeah, that is confusing.
Yeah. So I was like, well, okay. So, that's why I liked marketing and management when I went to uni because I was like, it's straightforward. It's like, cool. We need to get more people. Great. Have you run an advertising campaign? No, let's do that. Oh wow, that's like I'm like, no, that's what you would do, isn't it? Like, how else you expect it to happen?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Awesome. What's next for your social voice and your businesses? You're running another event next year?
Ideally we wanted to, and we're going to roll one out in March, like off the back of when we had it. But because everything's kind of changed a bit with COVID, we will. Don't know when next year though, because we would like to have like last time, like a lot of the top speakers that came were from the East Coast. We had quite a number of people that came from the East Coast. So it's like, we could do one just in Perth, but I would like to bring, like if I'm going to put on an event and I want good speakers, like I want some of my buddies from the East Coast to come and talk.
Yeah.
So we will do one. sometime. But yeah, our biggest like priority, like I was saying to you earlier before we started this, like we've got our new office potentially coming up.
Yeah.
Mapping that out and doing the deal for that, and it's a huge space. So it's like, cool, like what do I put in all this space now? It's like we've got like 160 square meters here. The one that we're looking at, it's going to be with some other people, but it's like about 511.
Nice.
So it's like, for me, I'm like, cool, I have all this empty space.
Yeah.
Like, I can only put so many ping pong tables in.
Table tennis. Yeah, like 2 or 3 lined up.
Yeah, exactly.
And a
have
pool
just
table.
like a
Air
sweatshop
hockey.
in there.
Air hockey.
Exactly.
Yeah, little
Yeah.
mini basketball hoop.
Oh, we definitely have
It's
one
like
of
a
them.
full recreation space.
Yeah, exactly. A squash court on the other side. Yeah,
Yeah.
all the things.
Yeah, awesome. Bro, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
catch up soon.
Cheers.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of The Alex Waters Show. You can check out all the links below in the description for how to find Kim and how to find me and connect further. Really hope you enjoyed that. Would love for you to share the episode. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast as well. And I'll see you and speak to you next week.